All right. Welcome to our first Around the World in 80 Rocks, Fossils, and Formations. And it is going to be really kind of mind-stretching. We're going to learn a lot. I'm going to throw some geology and mineral terms at you. And hopefully by the end of this, we're going to all be a lot more not only knowledgeable about geology, rocks, minerals, but also how to sketch them in our field notebooks. So just a reminder, if you could please turn off your videos for the recording, make sure everybody's muted, please. And then I'll have better bandwidth. So, well, welcome. I am Roseann Hanson. I'm going to jump right in and around the world in 80 rocks, fossils, and formations. And this is North America Part 1. I'm going to split it into two. I'm Roseann Hanson. If you are joining me for the first time, welcome. I am an author, naturalist, teach nature journaling, and my husband and I have started a new magazine for people who love to learn about the world called Exploration Quarterly. So let's review. This is what I wanted to do. We're going to be a little bit over today. We're going to review some geology reminders for those of us who don't remember our high school geology. So what is a rock? I think that's actually, you say, oh, well, I know what a rock is, but we really need to know this for our natural history. So rocks are made up of minerals. Minerals are made up of elements: iron, magnesium, calcium, silicon, the building blocks of our planet. And minerals become rocks through the formation processes in the earth. So here's a great quote. Think of minerals as cooking ingredients and rocks as the finished dish. And that's from geologist artist Wojciech Heibel. He lives in Scotland. I think he's Polish. And there are three major rock types based on these processes. And we all probably remember igneous, metamorphic, and sedimentary. So we'll be talking about those as we go around the world. So our first stop is my hometown state, actually my home state. And the first is my gemstone and one of my favorite rocks. This is peridot. Some people say peridot, or chrysolite, and it is an igneous mineral crystal, a variety of olivine. And interestingly, along with diamonds, peridot is one of only two gems to be formed not in the crust of the earth, but in the molten rock of the upper mantle here. So it's fairly hard. We're going to talk often about Mohs scale hardness for gems and minerals. So this is 6.5 to 7 out of 10. And this is cool too. It's found often in mafic rocks. And so we'll see that mafic means igneous rock rich in magnesium and iron. Ma, magnesium, fic, ferric. So magnesium, iron. And so here is a peridot minerals growing on or associated with basalt, which is the mafic rock. So let's draw this puppy. Whoops. Oh, there we go. Now, we've got several specimens to choose from for your sketching pleasure. So pick whichever you feel was going to be fun or stretch you or you want to tackle. I think I'm going to do the crystalline structure. That's a natural structure on the left. The one on the right is cut and polished, but the really cool multi-sided crystalline structure is you can sometimes find those out in the wild. These are up in Arizona, up in a town called Peridot on the Apache Nation. So I think I'm going to tackle that one. Now, I recommend, and many geology artists recommend this, don't draw too small. So it's tempting to draw really small, but it's a little harder to do those. So I'm just going to get in a rough structure, I'm going to start with, I think I'm going to draw that shape and then build from there. And that will help me, I hope, to get my proportions right. See, I went downhill there, so I think I best fix that. This is a longer, and then this is a smaller plane there. And then from here, oops, again, I can fix these relationships as I go. This is a little longer, a little shorter. I'm drawing the pencil probably harder than I normally would, so you can see it. And then there's a kind of a trapezoid going up here. Because I'll probably pull off a lot of this pencil lead because I don't want it to get into the nice, pretty watercolor we're going to do. And then I'm just going to do like a squiggles here. Oops, I forgot a plane here. I've got that one. And this actually comes off like this. It's kind of a little bump there. And it's kind of rough here. So and whichever one you decided to draw, I would pull off, if you're using pencil, or pull off as much as you can. And then what I'm going to do is get my watercolor going. Now I use my triad, cyan, magenta, yellow, with my burnt sienna and indanthrone blue. And that's going to be challenging for some of these colors. So hopefully maybe you've got more paints in your palette. But I'll just explain how I'm using mine. I think I got that a little bit more wet than I want. There. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay in just a light wash of just pure yellow. And I'm going to leave this surface almost, I think I might leave it almost all white. Because I'll be coming in with different colors of, or different values, I should say, of yellow. Whoopsie, forgot that. One of the things I like about lifting watercolors is you see I was able to just lift that right off. Now I'm not being really precious about this. I want it to, it's a mineral, it's a wild rock. While that is still damp, I'm going to get some dark down in the bottom here. And see how I'm just sort of dripping that in so that it's not a hard edge. There. And there's a little bit over here we can drop in. Now let's get a tiny bit of manganese blue. I mean, we're talking just the tiniest bit. That's like way too much there. I'm greening that up. And I'm going to go, I want to do various values of this green. And keeping it fairly not homogeneous, Now I'm cleaning off my brush and I'm going to give this just a little swipe in here and drop in the tiniest bits. Now I want this one to be a little darker, so I'm going to go in and grab some of this dirty green. See, it's really dirty, but that way I can darken these and get that hard edge. And it's gonna give that a little more definition, leaving that nice and bright yellow. And let's see how that dries. In the meantime, let's remember to get our write our information. So this is number 1. So later I'll go and I'll create a map on the page underneath. You see this paper got all wonky because I actually glued something. Remember at the last Around the World Animals, I glued a black paper on there, and boy, it warbled all the way through 2 more pages. So I've got this wobbly bits here. So it's not as nice of a page as I'm used to. So this is peridot. And if you want, you can write the formula: magnesium, iron, and it's a silicon oxide. And let's see. It's an igneous mineral crystal. And one of 2 gems formed in the mantle, the molten upper mantle, along with diamonds, which I think is pretty cool. And it's found in mafic rocks. Which are magnesium, iron. Nice. So if you want, I mean, that's probably about a 1/2-inch specimen. So we could write oops, don't want to do that thing and put my hand over what I've just written. So this is a little wonky. Here we go. See how that got kind of wobbly because of these waves in the paper? But I like how that's looking. One thing I can do to give it a little bit more depth is let's give a shadow in the bottom a little better. And we probably want to dampen that first so we don't get super hard. Those are inclusions. And I'm going to pull those up a little bit. And I think I'll leave that one. To be careful adding shadow, this one kind of, I got it too wet. So I'm going to let that hopefully dry in. We'll make that a little bit more defined. So, but let's move on to our next rock mineral or fossil. I don't know if we have any fossils this time around. let's see. I keep moving my talking head around here. All right, where are we going next? Well, we're just going to hop across to New Mexico to a really cool place. Is that gorgeous? I mean, those of you who know me and know how much I love to make paints, this place just make me crazy how gorgeous that iron, the ochre, the red ochre, the iron oxide is. These are the Bisti de Nazin Wilderness, or some people locally call it the Bisti Badlands. And there are lots of hoodoo formations. The cool thing about this particular one is this is a great example of a hoodoo in the making. So you can see down here, a hoodoo are these like pillars. And here we have a window formed. And eventually over time, so the window is formed out of the fin, which is this here, and then erosion pulls away the lighter shale, leaving the harder iron concretions on top, and you will get a hoodoo eventually here and here. So pretty cool formation. The Bisti is a 45,000 acre huge fossiliferous sequence of beds spanning like the Cretaceous Paleogene boundary, it's called, and it's the largest sedimentary basin of its type in the world, which is really cool. So these are sedimentary rocks. And as I said, this lighter is shale, which is clay, silt, mud, and organic matter. And the reds are iron, and so there's solid masses, concretions here. So drawing these, we want to, oops, I keep doing that. There we go. We want to be careful when we're drawing geologic formations, landforms. It's really easy to get carried away and want to draw the whole thing. So let's zoom in here. So what I recommend we do is focus on just part of it, probably the window, or I'm showing from the window, even just the window, and show how it's going to become a hoodoo, or the window over to the left or right, so you can show the other formations. I think what I'll do first is I'm going to draw an oval for my window. So I sort of place mark it. I think that's a little bit too big. So be circumspect how big you want to do your windows. You could, go across the page. That would be fine. I could have done that, but I think I'll just make the window a little smaller. Oops, like so. And then let's just rough in, the formation on top. Gets kind of a bump there. And then you can see it comes down, it's starting to form a waist right here. This is starting to actually erode out. And so I'm going to stop mine there. But you feel free to do whatever you are comfortable with. And you see these kind of erosion fans here. We're going to get that column. And then the kind of mushroom on top is starting to form there. So what we want to capture here. And this is part of the same formation. But this is its own little beastie here. And we'll add just kind of for some interest, we'll, put in this other rocks here. That helps give it scale. There. So I'm going to use paint to do most of the work here. Let's get in just a little bit of the details, but don't go too crazy. That's one of the tricks of doing geology is you want it to be detailed, but not too detailed. It's a fine line. And I think I'm not going to put anything in the window, even though there is something back there. I think it's going to be better if I keep it simple. Let's remember that rule. How do we get that color? It's going to be a challenge. So I'm going to use, so there's going to be some pure burnt sienna in there. If I look at my cursor here, this is the lighter burnt sienna, but then this really dark concretion on the top. I need to really darken that up. And it's really, really red. So what I want to do, first I'm going to get everything nice and wet. Because in geology is often not very hard lines. You really want to, except for maybe these rocks here, but we're going to be pulling color down. So here, now I'm going to get a bunch of nice burnt sienna. And I'm going to drop in on one side, I'm putting in a whole bunch of magenta and then some blue to darken that up. See that? Almost reddish. Oop, that is getting weird. Okay. So starting with the darker at the top. Ooh, it's really, really wet. I'm just going to pull that across, being like really bumpy. I can go in and add more, but I want my darker at the top. And then I'm going to get some of the orangier in there. The cool thing about earth pigments like this, oops, is they can move around nicely on the page. So it's not like regular watercolor where if you mess up and move the pigment around, it'll go really wonky. Okay, when I said I was going to pull the color, so now I'm cleaning my brush and I'm pulling the color down into the columns. And this way I can also help show the shapes. And there's some striping here. Oh, that doesn't really show. So we'll do a little bit of striping here. And here. And now I'm going back in. I need some of this dark magenta, blue. There. Okay, I'm going to show that mushroom, get some texture. Leaving some open so that it has the look of volume. And we don't want to spend a ton of time on this. This is getting a little dry, so I'm getting hard edges. The nice thing about earth pigments is they're easy to move around. And let's get some splatter in there too. Oh, got to get those other rocks. And try not to be too, get monotone color, try to vary the values. And then we have like rocks scattered. Could spend a lot of time on this and use that to define the edges here. That's a shadow. And we can go in and work with that a little bit. Maybe just a pale. I don't want to mess it up too much. I want to define a little bit. I think I can keep working on that. Again, it's a real a dance between too much and too little, isn't it? So we want to get some shadow in here. I don't like how that one went, but I can blend it in. And you can even maybe just show a little bit of the landform. Yeah, I think we're getting there. Notice I went ahead and let my brush splay a little bit, and that helps with getting texture in. And I think here I might just very pale. Uh, pull that in. It's really, I always have to just stop myself. I just love to just keep noodling around these. So I'll be able to let this dry. Oh, and I still have to write what this is. So I will do that. It's wet, so I have to be careful here. I think what I'll do is grab a protector. I keep pages in the back that I can just lay on top. And so this is number 2. Oh, we're going to have to get the name back. This is the Bisti de na Zin. So this is in the Navajo Nation, or next to it. because I believe it's a BLM property. And these are hoodoo information process. And so we've got, these are iron concretions. Once it's dry, I could come in and, you do a little more pen work and add more dots in here, but we're kind of running low on time here. So what we want to say is this is a window supports will become columns. Which were hoodoos. So this is a hoodoo. And then the lighter color is shale. And that is clay, silt, organic. Sedimentary. It'd be fun to put some blue behind it, fill that in. I'm not going to do it now because this is wet, but this is nice here. So that was fun, and keeping it simple. Try not to do too much is kind of the key on these. And let's see, there's more space here. I could write. This is a world's largest. What is this? The fossiliferous sequence. Largest fossiliferous sedimentary basin. And there's a lot of coal up here. They do mine coal up here, and that is often associated with shale. So good to know. Let's see where we're going next. Yeah, we're doing pretty well. We're number 2. That's not too bad. These go a little bit faster than our critters, don't they? All right. Get my little talking head out of the way. Now, from New Mexico, we're going all the way up to Alaska. I'm warning you on this particular Around the World series. I didn't do it all in order, so we're like going to be all over the place. So I apologize. You'll get whiplash, but this is fun. Sherry knows Alaskans. Gold. Look at this. This is crazy. This is actually a pretty big nugget, sold for $10,000 not too long ago. And it was found like in 2016, I think. Let's take a look. Pretty cool. So, wrong. Hit the wrong button. So, yes, this was found, 2023. This nugget was found near Nome, Alaska. It's huge. It's like 2 inches tall. So gold, the element, a chemical element, which is atoms all have the same number of protons. It is number 79 on the periodic table, written AU. This is so cool. It is present in the dust from which the solar system formed, probably produced in supernova nucleosynthesis from the collision of neutron stars. So it has been in the Earth since it was formed, molten, and because it was molten and it's very heavy, it probably sank all the way into the planetary core, and it's thought to be brought to the surface through mantle movement. There's still some controversy over where gold came from, whether it was this supernova nucleosynthesis, or some people think gold came from asteroids. So that's in debate. Pretty interesting, though. So it occurs as a free elemental in its native state as nuggets or grains in rocks, veins, and alluvial deposits. Alluvial meaning coming down from rivers. So this is not playing nice today. There we go. All right. So how do we draw a gold nugget? First, I'm going to move my camera. And this is fun. If you are lucky, you have something like, what's the really golden yellow in your palette? Oh, I always forget. It was.
Is it the quinacridone?
Yes, thank you, Tiffany. I always forget that. It was like really hard to get for a while. It was somehow difficult, but yeah, quinacridone yellow, is that it? Very beautiful golden, but I don't have that in my palette, so we're going to do something a little different, but feel free to use what you have. Let me get this. There we go, much better. So I'm going to draw my little gold nugget here. Try not to make it too small. And don't worry about like making sure it's absolutely perfect here. We're just going to get a nuggety thing going. And then just give it some whorls and topography, if you will, because we want to leave some of it, it's going to need definition and bright spots. So we get the shiny bits. I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to pull off a little bit of the pencil so it doesn't get too dirty. But then I also want to use it as a guide to remember. So I'm going to lay down pure yellow at first. Trying to remember to reserve just some, I'm going to make this even watery. Reserve some almost pure white spots too. It's going to look really pale at first. And not goldy at all. There, I'm just going to kind of leave that. And I cheat and drop in a tiny bit of burnt sienna to warm up, get that quin gold going, like so. And while this is still wet, I'm going to start dropping this in. Now, you don't want it to be all one color here. So make sure you leave the bright spots. Although I think the edges can be duller, darker, because we're going to want that anyway. And I'll be coming back and doing more of this, dropping in darker. Trying to remember not to uh, fill it in completely. And then let's get some brown going now. I'm going to mix a nice brown using the three primaries, magenta, cyan, and yellow. But use whatever you have in your palette. Because I want to get, it's not quite wet enough. I need it even wetter. So I want to get some of that matrix in there. Arizona is so dry right now. We didn't get hardly any of that rain that just went through. So everything's drying like instantly. It's so annoying. And I'd rather go a little pale on the first pass than put too much in. Because I can come back and then hit this with brightness with a bright pure yellow to pop some of it. After it dries though, so I don't get really hard edges. I'm trying to keep this bright down here. And sometimes you can really enhance the bright by adding a little bit of dark around it, but not too much. I'm going to let that dry while I write. Doesn't look so great yet because we have to really pull it, pull the form out of it. But let's write our information while it's drying. So this is gold, which is actually an element. It's number 79 on the periodic chart or table. And it is AU. And gold, possibly, originated in Earth. At its formation. Oops. From supernova nucleosynthesis. Oops. Ha. Which is the collision of neutron stars. How cool is that? And it's settled to the core, molten core. All right, let's go back and try to pop this gold a little bit. First, I'm going to just do some like goldy highlights. And then I want to go in and, so I wanted that brighter. And now I'm going to do a duller. Warm, a very warm yellow. Gonna have to, this brush has an errant bristle, which I'm gonna have to bite off. Ah, okay. I'm getting this nice and wet because I want to drop in this gold, richer gold color. There, that's looking better now. Don't forget to leave the spots that are more brighter. And so I'm going to let that dry. And then the final pass will be to really darken up. I think I'm going to need to move on soon, but what we would want to do is bring in a much darker brown. And just hit some of these areas like so. See how that's making that, pushing that back now. But it needs to be pretty wet to look good. Yeah, I'm liking that a lot better now. So that'll take a little bit more work. Oops. I think I'll leave it because it's just so tempting to just keep noodling at these things. But we've got a lot more rocks to do. But you can see that will eventually make a nice gold rock, or excuse me, element. But where are we going next? Because we've got 5 more to do. Well, we're coming back down to California, to the Mojave Desert. This is really interesting. This is literally called Giant Rock. It is a giant rock, but it is called a giant rock. It is in the Mojave. It is actually quite famous for about 20 years. It was the site of some of the world's biggest UFO conventions. This gentleman here, Frank Kreitzer, built a home underneath it. He excavated out underneath it. Here was the entrance, and there it shows his home. He then actually sadly died in a dynamite explosion trying to excavate more. And it was bought by a friend of his who believed in UFOs, and established an institute there. And this was a landing pad for UFOs. And here's the ladder to help them come down. So very famous site. Look it up. There's some hilarious photos. It's quite interesting. It is a granite boulder. It might be it is the largest known freestanding boulder in North America. It's quartz monzonite with something called plagioclase. That's a mineral, alkali feldspars. You can see that there in the blow up I did, and quartz. So it's a beautiful rock, sparkly. It's huge, 7 stories tall. Those are kids there, but it's really huge. You can see on the left, it formed in the Cretaceous period deep in the earth and then was uplifted. exposed by weathering. And interestingly, so there's several types of geologic faults. There's true faults and then there's joints, and depends on which way they move. I won't go into it all now, but to get these rounded boulders, it has to be a geologic joint rather than a fault. And so those interplanetary spacecraft conventions were there from 1950 to 1978. I think it's now in the BLM land. So let's draw giant rock in the Mojave Desert. So the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure we get our proportions right. There we go. I'm gonna look, pull out a little bit here. So one thing, if you take your measure with your pencil or pen, if you look at take the width, like go diagonal, the longest line on the rock, okay, mark that. And then note that it is about 3/4 that length tall. So we want to make sure we got that proportion right. Excuse me. So I'm going to start here. Is the right side of the boulder. And then up here is the top. And so I'm going to measure then, hey, look at that. I'm going to make that one pencil width, and then it is about 3/4 tall. So I think I got that about right to this spot here. So just feel it out. This one is not super hard. There's a couple of planes we're going to need to note. So like there's a shape here, a bite. It comes up and then it kind of it's fairly straight all the way up to the dome, comes down, and then it starts to come in here. And this was actually where he excavated, and it's been filled in. So here's the background. And we want to note that that's a shape here. So I'm giving that hash marks. And then you can, if you want, you can mark like a shadow line. Go ahead and mark it with your pencil, so you're starting to get the shape better, because it lifts off the ground right about here. And then you're going to get the bigger shadow. Goes way off the page, of course. Then you probably want to put your little human in there. So they are standing right about here. So we'll just put a human shape there. There's some interesting things on the internet that said that this used to be or was important to the Mojave people. I couldn't find any. That came from the UFO guy, and I couldn't find any verification of that in reality. So I wouldn't write that down as for sure. So the other thing we want to mark is kind of the two planes here. This looks like, and then we're just going to do a very light dots. So this is one shape that kind of comes down like so. You see how that goes? This is a little bit convex. And then this it has a tiny bit of a crown. And then you just put a few little shape indicators. And if you want, you can draw the little heart graffiti that's down there. There's a few sharp edges. I wouldn't get too lost in the details here. But otherwise, it's very roundy. So this is number 4, a giant rock. Literally, is its name. And it is a granite boulder. And that comprises, let's call it plagioclase, alkali, feldspars, and quartz. And if you're feeling up to it, you could even do a little pull-out window and draw the detail of that beautiful quartz. Let me write real quick here. This is 7 stories tall. I forgot to look up how tall a story is. It's got to be different. Or is it any architects out there? Is it a standard architectural term? And let's see. Oh, yes, we have to put from 1950 to 1978 interplanetary spacecraft conventions.
Roseann, a story can be 10 to 12 feet.
Okay, thank you very much. That's something I should have looked up. It's one of those things where we sort of take it for granted. You go like, oh yeah, that's 3 stories tall. And then you forget to ask yourself, well, how big is a story? So good to know. It's always good to question. Let's see. Boy, my paper towel's getting really manky. So what I want to do is I've got some good color in here already for kind of doing the dirt below it. And I'm taking advantage of the dirty graphite too, because this is just kind of deserty color. I have to be careful not to dip into that too much. And then we've got it's kind of a pinkish, reddish color on parts of it. So I'm just gonna drop in very wet and messy and just keep lots of white space. Just to get us started with texture. And see, I'm just trying to make it as messy as I can. If you can manage to get some of the streaking, that would be good too. And then I want to reserve, let's get this, let's gray this up a little bit. And then I want to reserve the splotchiness as much as possible. And if I fail, then you can come back and add gouache or white gel pen to get some of that alkali. Didn't mean to get as much of a hard edge there, so let's try to get rid of that. And then there is a fire from people's campfires, fire damage over many, many, many moons. So if you want to darken up that and add that detail, hopefully do that when it's pretty wet. I need to get it even wetter, so. Trying to squeeze a lot of water here. See how you can just sort of nudge that. I'm not going to do a lot of the graffiti, I don't think. Don't really like it. But it's up to you what you want to do. So I think I'm going to let that settle in. If you want, you can put maybe sky behind it. Didn't quite get the roundy bits on top, but can come back maybe with gouache and get that. But I think that approximates our boulder. Give this person more form. Let's give them a hat. Now it looks like a penguin. Wow, that was good. Okay, so I think that's gonna sit for now. Come back, I'll darken things, give it a little more form. As long as I've got this black though, I think I'll get the shadow. Oops, oh, blort. I blort that, so hopefully I can pull that away. There. All right, let's leave that before I mess it up even more. It's got to dry so I can turn the page because it's just going to mess up the next page. But we're heading, where are we heading? Trying to remember. So there's the blue heart. That would be kind of fun to add. But there's lots of other graffiti in there. They keep trying to clean it, but it's a bit of a mess on the other side. Interestingly, you can see just here, a huge piece of it cleaved off recently, which is common for these types of round boulders because of the way the faults are, excuse me, not the fault, the joint, that they're quite brittle. Now we're heading back to Mexico. And one of my favorite gems, this is the Mexican fire opal. I actually have, show you in just a minute, a jar of these sitting on my desk from my dad, Mexican fire opal. So it is known as a sedimentary mineraloid. So it's not a full mineral because it's not, doesn't have a crystalline structure. And so they call it a mineraloid. And it is a hydrated amorphous form of silica. So it has quite a bit of water by weight in it. The silica is laid down in layers through geyser activity. So that's where the water comes in. And the color are inclusions of iron oxide in the layers of silica. So if you get it just right, then these can be polished and you get these iron flames, if you will, in refracting in the beautiful inside the matrix, a clear, semi-clear. And the matrix around it, the outside, is rhyolitic igneous rock. So that's silica, potassium, and sodium. Rhyolite is the lava form of granite. So you see some similarities there. And in Mayan, it was called the bird of paradise stone. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce that up at the top. Quetzalcoatl. Sounds like I've been drinking. And in Aztec, the hummingbird stone. Vitsitzitepal. So let's work on, these are going to be challenging. Let me put a protector here. So turn the page. Okay. These are really fun to do. They are a little challenging. You have to remember to reserve a lot of white and bits. Let's see. Get myself set up here. And if you make it, not too small, you'll have a little bit more success, I think. And get my palette clean because we need some pure colors. Oh, let me show you. So here is Mexican fire opal that my dad collected in the 1950s and 60s. We used to go rock hounding, and these are from Mexico. Is that so cool? Someday I'll make jewelry from these. In the meantime, they just remind me of my dad. Okay. Get that your palettes nice and clean. And then I'm going to keep moving this around. Sorry. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. There. Choose whichever one you want in this photo, something fun, challenging, easy, whichever you like. I think I'm going to try for just a little bit of the fire here on that one. But choose whichever you like. So I'm just going to do an oval and then create the window. This has like these little islands going in, which is kind of fun. And then just kind of go around. There. Doesn't need to be perfect. So the first thing I'm going to do, seems like I do this a lot with this type of watercoloring with just minimum colors, is you got to get your base layer down, your first glazing, if you will. And guess what? I'm going to put pure yellow. So I chose one that has a lot of yellow and greens. There's a tiny bit of blue in there. You might choose something else. If you've chosen something that isn't made from yellow and green, make sure that you reserve space so you can drop in, say, purple or blue without adding it on top of yellow, which will turn it green. So don't forget to also leave a shine spot of pure white. And I always forget to do that. So I'm going to be glazing magenta over mine to get these beautiful reds. Okay, so while that's drying, here's I reserved a crescent-shaped shine spot. So now I'm going to do the rhyolite matrix. This is partially polished, but we're going to leave it somewhat dull. It's not really shiny, and it's got I'm going to make it just a very pale, pale, pale burnt sienna. Kind of an adobe color. Making it as streaky as I can. Oops. Okay. Make it a little island there. Be careful not to fill in your shiny spot. All right, that yellow is looking pretty dry. Yay. Now, first thing I want to do is let's get those fire flames in there. I'm going to there's a beautiful greens. See what happens when I drop the manganese blue. Get these lovely, lovely greens. And then that kind of grades down into really reddy reds down here. So I'm putting the magenta down. And then really pale magenta. Whoops, that got a little muddy. To capture some of that fiery look.
Museum. I've been on Canyon Road. I've been on Palace Avenue. I've been in Chicago. I've been in Bisbee. I've been around. I've been around, girl.
Okay, let's see.
Well,
All right. Now I'm going to take the magenta. Hey, Tiffany, can you still hear me?
I certainly can.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yep, all is good.
Thank you. So notice how I'm taking the magenta now, I'm glazing over the yellow. in a pretty watery mix. And I'm going to end up making it darker on the edges, and I'm making it as mottled as possible to approximate the look of the depth. And it's going to take multiple passes here. See if I can, there we go, lighten that up to give it more sparkle. And again, glazing the magenta over the yellow to create the orange. Don't forget our shiny spot. Now on these edges, I'm darkening it quite a bit more at the edge of the matrix, that here. I'm using a fair amount of water to, again, I want it to be mottled. And try not to wreck my bright bits there. Now that bright spot, what I need to do is soften the edges a bit. And this is going to need to dry. So I've got clear water here. And so I'm trying to soften those edges of that bright spot. Okay. I'm letting that dry. I'm going to fix the matrix a little bit by giving it some streaks. Let's see. And then also, we're going to want to add some shadow. It's not streaking as well as I want. Kind of messy on purpose here. Trying to give that matrix a little bit more interest here. And then we want to make it curvaceous. So get some gray, if you have Payne's gray, or make your own with burnt sienna and indanthrone, and give it some form by darkening with it nice and wet so you don't get too hard of an edge, which I kind of did there. So I want to come in and get that nice and wet. See how that makes it look more round? And one of the things that'll really help too is if we get a nice dark, get your Payne's gray. Be careful you don't mix it really well so you don't get a lot of blue, is you want to create that illusion of depth by giving this a little shadow edge. But don't make it like too perfect. Oops, and that was me messing up. So that's going to be, I can lift that a little bit. And then I'm going to have more depth there than I planned, but that's okay. Because now it's going to look like there's a bottom to it. You can see almost a shadow here. And I'm going to make those really wet. So we will go all the way around. And then the last thing we do is, interestingly, it really helps pop. Once it's all dry, I'm going to go over it again with a yellow glaze. So this will give it more depth. And hopefully it'll still look nice and shiny. Not super happy with my bright spot, but we'll see. I'm going to let that dry. Oh, and I haven't even given it a name yet. So this is what, number 5? Mexican fire opal. And it is a sedimentary. Oh, you can write the formula for it if you want. Mineraloid. And it is a hydrated, meaning it contains water, amorphous silica. It's in a rhyolitic igneous rock matrix. Great. So let that dry. I'll keep working on that. Fire up get this bright and shiny, and that should work well. And we'll add a shadows around the base when I'm done. But we have to keep moving. Can't remember where we're going next. Boing, back up to Wyoming. Oops. Wrong way, Wyoming. And any guesses? Wait for it. Ha ha ha. Yes. Devil's Tower. Fabulous formation. Incredible. This is, by the way, Google Earth in the 3D mode, which is so much fun. Look at that. So this is Devil's Tower, Wyoming. It is called a phonolite. It is made of phonolite porphyry with white feldspar crystals. And it is probably a remnant of something called a laccolith, which is a dome of magma. They think it's about 40.5 million years old. And as it cooled, 6-sided or hexagonal columns formed. And there are some 4, 5, and 7-sided columns, but they're huge. They're about 20 feet wide. and up to 600 feet, 180 meters tall, these columns. It's 867 feet from the base to the top. As you can see here, though, the core goes way down, surrounded by sedimentary rock. Love this legends. The Kiowa and Lakota people have share the story that giant bears were chasing a group of girls up a tall rock, and they prayed to Great Spirit to save them. The rock was uplifted, and the bears' efforts to get at the girls left giant claw marks down the side of the mountain. I love that. How fun is that? This is not playing well with me today, so click, click. Sorry about that, trying to escape. So let's draw Devil's Tower. It's going to be fun. And I think the challenge here, oops, no. The challenge here is don't get sucked into too much detail. And that's always my problem. So let's choose, let's just do a rough shape, make sure we get this on the page the way we want. So base, tower, top. Okay, just rough shape here. Okay, and then that way we can show the surrounding landscape-ish. Then we want to tease out major shapes. So I'm going to come down this side. There's a bit of a ledge like that, and it comes down. And on this side, it kind of swoops out more. And then there's a base. Then here's a triangle shape, because this is a flat here. We'll mark that. And then this is in shadow. We'll go ahead and pull this down, and there's just a small step if you want to include it. And then about a third of the way over, come down here like this, and then get that little bulge. And then there's a scree here. Don't get too worried about these details, because you'll get just completely sucked in. This comes up, and then one thing we will note is there's a kind of a triangle shape here, and the forms, to just make sure you get your forms here, and then it's eroded here, so this is tops of those columns, and then more columns there like that. So again, don't get too far in the weeds on trying to draw every detail. I am so bad at that. So this comes down. You've got just a few shapes like that. Just don't try to do every column. You're just going to show think bear claw marks. Like so. There is, at least with the way the sun is here, some significant clefts in there. Again, just keep those marks going. It flares. And it appears to have kind of a detail like that. So I don't get too far into the weeds. This is kind of a scree slope. and scree slope. We'll get some trees going in here. And then the top is just kind of textured. So just give it some texture. And then there. So we want to label this. This is Devil's Tower. And this is in Wyoming, USA. And it is an intrusive igneous formation. So intrusive igneous formation. And you can put in parentheses, possibly a laccolith. They're not positive. And it is phonolite porphyry. With feldspar crystals. And it's well, how tall is it? It's 867 feet tall. And the columns, oops, are roughly 20 feet wide and 600 feet tall in some places. Nice. So see, keeping it simple, keep your shapes. We can, doesn't have a lot of colors. So I've already got some kind of grays in here, and I will use that to kind of enhance the streakies, but also just I really, really, really water that down. And then the top, we're going to want to throw just a little bit of contrast. I'm going to just throw a little bit of the burnt sienna down just to get the more soil look here, because the top's more weathered, I think. Probably has deposition. And then there's a stronger shadow on the far right. This whole area here. Oops, oh boy, I got that. Yeah, you want to get that step in there. So bring that down and then give this some shadow. And what else do we want to emphasize? There's a big kind of ledge step there. And make some really, really dark green using Indan Throne. Oh, I know. Let's see. I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna skip the green for the moment. There's the weathered sandstone around it has kind of there's some reddish to it, so I can emphasize the scree slopes by throwing in some of this color. If you look on Google Earth, there's lots of iron deposits around. And let's just giving this some texture. And then we can I mean, if you have the time and patience, you can do trees. I'm just using the tip of my brush, which is nice and pointy, to do trees. Kind of clustered at the base. And that really helps start giving you some scale. And you can see they sort of go up this little slope here. Do trees forever. There, so that really kind of helped give this scale. So I like that. Again, don't go too crazy on the details. It's okay that this is just a little stylized, because we're not trying to do a perfect scientific drawing here. We're trying to capture Douglas Tower, which I think we did. So let's move on. So we've got 2 more to do. How are we doing? Oh, not bad. It's easy to get lost in the rocks. Pretty cool. Now, where are we going? Back to Mexico. What the heck? Yay. Actually, this is all over the American Southwest. Species of turquoise. Loads of different colors and types. It's one of my favorite minerals. It's beautiful. It is a hydrous phosphate, copper and aluminum. And the word turquoise comes from the Old French turquoise, from the Ottoman Empire, Turkey. It is a cryptocrystalline mineral, so it doesn't form single crystals. And the veining may be pyrite or limonite. And the formation process is super complicated. You don't really want to write this all down, but it's rain or snow melt, which they call meteoric water, percolates through copper porphyry. The dissolved oxygen converts the copper sulfides to soluble sulfates. And then the copper-laden acidic solution reacts with aluminum and potassium, and it precipitates this gorgeous turquoise. So I just love drawing turquoise. Pick one to draw, and we will have a blast. Actually, it's really fun to do. Let's just do if we have time, we'll do 2, but let's see. One of the roughs and then one of the polished, because it's kind of fun to practice both. So let's do a polished one first, and I'm just going to do direct watercolor. Now, how do we get that? incredible color. So we want to take, so manganese blue is really, really close to turquoisey color, like the bluest blue. Now, these are very green turquoises. Bisbee blue turquoise is actually very, very blue, like this magenta here. Excuse me, manganese here. And there was a Sleeping Beauty turquoise, which is more robin's egg blue, like this here, and Iranian turquoise as well. So to get it a little more green, because I want to do one of those greenier ones, you drop in just the teeniest bit of yellow, not very much. A little bit more blue. I want a richer color. And just a little bit more yellow. There we go. All right, so let's do one of the ones with matrix. I'm just going to do a free form turquoise. And go ahead and, leave lots of pigment blobs. And if you want, there, I left a shiny spot. And then go straight for your matrix. I'm going straight with my trusty burnt sienna when it's still damp. And I'm going to create my matrix like so. Look at that, veins perfectly. Just be creative. It doesn't have to be exact. They're quite beautiful. There we go. I'm gonna there. Kind of a spider webby. And let that dry. And you see I left the shiny spot on top. And then as we can darken the blue here with a little bit of indanthrone, a tiny bit more yellow. I'm gonna have to clean that yellow in a minute, but I want a darker blue. There. Because I'm going to want to give it a little form. So I'll do that. And then I'm going to draw, pull it like that. Try not to wreck the matrix. So now it looks a little bit more round, like a cabochon. These are called cabochons.
Roseann, have you found turquoise in your rock hounding?
Not pure turquoise, no. Chrysocolas, yes, which are related, but no, we never found pure turquoise. The mines are pretty well controlled and privatized, as you can imagine. Turquoise is it's hard to polish and cut. I have done so because it's pretty soft. On the Mohs scale, it's only 5.6. So to do the more nubbly turquoise, just do the same process we just did. I'll do a little one. Oops. And then you're going to have to work with the your matrix color to pretty quickly. So if we go for trying to make a rough, then make it pretty watery, make your nubbles not going to do like, and leave some blank spaces if you can. Let that water bloom because we can fill it in with other color. So there's a blob of rough, and then we go in and we want to drop that matrix right into that. And let it bloom. Create a shelf, if you will. So let that bloom and do its thing. And then come back and work on top of it. Because you can, again, you'll want to darken the matrix on this a little bit, give it some interest, make it look more like that limonite, like so. See how pretty that is? So have fun with that. The trick is nice and wet, drop it in, and then come back and round it out a bit. So let's get that. I don't want to do any more now because it'll just kind of mess it up. But this is 7. Turquoise. Oh yeah. Oh, here's a really old, cool turquoise. Look at, I almost drew that one. This is like a 125-year-old ring, and really cool matrix. As you see, I love turquoise. I have a whole bunch of it. So it is hydrous phosphate. And when you work turquoise, you need to wear a mask because of the copper and aluminum goes airborne. You don't want to inhale that. And it is cryptocrystalline. I just love that word. And what else can we say? Mohs. I'm not going to write the whole copper sulfide solution, acid laden or copper laden, etc. But we can say it's on the Mohs scale at 5.6. So you can see how that's coming together. Nice. Well, what is number 8? What is number 8? I can't remember because I think I told you it when I was doing this. I cracked myself up this morning. I was reviewing it and I realized I'd actually done 9 because I got so excited. Oh, I know where we're going. Oh, aha. Okay, check this out. I would die if I drove up and saw this. We haven't been this far south on this road, so I've never seen it in person. A friend took this picture. Ah, is that amazing? I need to get down there and see if that can be made into paint. Is that stupendously gorgeous? So this is, the green is clinoptilolite on tuff. This is in the Isidro Formation in eastern Baja. It's volcanic. The formation is, but this particular part is sedimentary sandstone, pebbly sandstone. Well, the pink part is oyster coquina, which is shells that have become concrete, and conglomerate layered with it's in the pink tuff. The green is a coating of this clinoptilolite, which is an aluminosilicate mineral. And it's a cool mineral in that it's very complicated, but it acts as a molecular sieve based on its atomic structure. And it's used to clean up radiation spills because it can suck the radiated isotopes off the surface. It's super cool. So how do we draw this though? Knowing me, of course, I would want to draw the whole thing. It's very complicated. So how do we make this less complicated? It's a challenge. I want to capture the green, the shape, and the pink behind it, the tough. So what I'm going to do, I think the easiest thing, I'm going to cheat a little and use a bounding box. Well, that's not really cheating, but that helps me stay focused. And what I'm going to do is just throw a shape in the center of the green formation. And then I'm going to build it off that. I'm not worrying about details right now. So if I've got that, then I can go in right here and insert this cone. Here, another cone here, another, whoops. I'm just kind of building the landscape, a little cone there. Then I can come over here and pull up this shape. And it's actually, I'm just going to let it stop there. I'm not going to do the whole thing. You are welcome to like continue and maybe, do that. Maybe I'll make it break out of my box a little bit. That's sometimes fun to do. But that just helped me kind of stay focused here. That shape there. Then, okay, I've got right off the edge here. Go ahead and just pull that down. Pull that down. So we're not going to get into a whole lot of detail on the pink tuff. I've got this shape. And then this is, don't get, too far in the weeds. There's another shape coming in here. Which is debris slope there. And that's, I'm going to leave it at that. I'd be tempted to just like keep drawing and drawing and drawing, but this is a quick capture. So give this little structure there. Pull that nose, it's kind of a nose there. We've got a lip of darker material. Give it a little form here, make it go a little wobbly. I'm not trying to like completely copy this. I'm just capturing. See how I'm just putting little hash marks here. Let's do the same down here. And then I'm going to give this a little shelf there. And then I'll be able to just quickly capture that. Now there's some banding that we want to do here. Don't get carried away though, because it will just mess up the look. Let's go straight to the watercolor because that'll help keep me from just messing with it. Yeah. So I'm gonna, I've got my turquoise, look at that. Let's get this painted that color. Ooh. darker on top. Make it watered down. Get the lower part much waterier. Even don't fill it like super solid. See how I left it kind of open? And then here, again, it's not as dark up here. But it's quite a line. And then these guys are darker. And we want to throw in some, there's some kind of goldy yellow color. Yellowy brown. It's grassy. You know, we've got that going here. I'm just gonna like make this super watery. Looks like there's a tiny bit on top here. I'm going really fast now because we're nearing the end, which is fun. But you can see the process here of how we're doing this. And that pink puff, I've got just a tiniest, barest amount of magenta, but I'm going to drop burnt sienna in that to make it more dirt adobe, dirt kind of, yeah, pink adobe color. And again, make it nice and watery. A bit of a hard edge there. Let's see what I can do about that. Looks like the green and the pink kind of grayed together in here. And there'll be some details I can do. There's a little green I can put in here. I can fix this work that I just did. Oh, haha, did you see what I just did? I just transferred a smudge on my finger. So now there's a shadow mountain. So so we'll go in and, you know, work on this after it dries, add some detail and shadow and get this up. I'll add blue sky maybe in the bounding box and emphasize that formation. But just keeping it as simple as we can is the best way to do that. So this is number 8. This is, great name. Climb up till low light. On Tuff, Tuff, in Baja. Haven't been writing the locations. And this is Mexico. And the green Oh gosh, let's see. Is it is it an aluminosilicate mineral? Oh, I put a dot. Well, great. We just made it to 11. What have we got? I think that is it. So I hope I'm going to come back and see if you guys want to share what you've done. But thank you so much. This is going to be fun. I'm really, really loving putting these together. So if you do enjoy these, I always appreciate the tip jar. And I will pop the link in the chat. But let's go back to gallery view. And I'd love if anybody wants to share what they've done, or if you share anything, would be fantastic. Use the raise hand feature down at the bottom so that I can spotlight you. Let's see. Anyone want to share? Tiffany, yay. Okay, turn on your video so I can find you. There we go. And what have you got?
So let's see.
Nice. Oh, you got the sandstone color so well. What did you use?
The burnt sienna, mostly some buff titanium.
Mm,
It's kind of a cheater color, but I like it for the desert.
that's perfect. Buff titanium. I should get
With
some.
gold.
Ooh, nice job on the gold. Yay.
And let's see. I was kind of trying to truck along, so not a lot of writing, but
Yeah. Oh, great work. Oh, good opal. Yay. Those are so hard because if it bleeds the smallest amount into your
yeah.
into the bright spots. It's turquoise is fun, isn't it? Ooh, I like how you did your green. I like that better.
The
Nice.
turquoise was beautiful.
Isn't it fun? I
Yeah.
love it. I probably, in retrospect, going back with the clinoptilolite in Baja, I probably should have done direct watercolor, but we'll see.
Yeah, no, I mean, I did pencil lines really light. I think I went too big. I think I should have zoomed in a little bit more.
I tried to zoom in just because I get in the weeds. I'll just spend the whole day doing one thing, which is
The
fun.
whole formation was beautiful, though.
I know. We got to go there.
We need to go there.
We need to go there and make paint.
Oh,
Yeah,
nice.
it's beautiful.
I sense an expedition coming.
I'm
Lydia,
in.
that would be fun. We turn this into field trips. Lydia, turn on your, there we go. Spotlight. Okay. Oh, look at that. Oh, wow. You tackled a lot of them. That's awesome. I love the way everything fits on one spread. How fun is that?
I did everything just small.
I like it. Oh, captured really nicely. I like the broken lines. Did you use pen on the peridot?
I used yeah, I did use pen on that one.
I
And
like the
did
broken line
use
look. Yeah.
pencil and pen on some of them. And the pen that I used was like a light gray.
That explains. So it's not really, it doesn't overpower the watercolor. I like that. I'm going to enhance my peridot that way. I like how you use notice how, she outlined, but then they're broken lines. So you just want a little hint of the edges of the crystal planes. So the surfaces. Perfect. Oh, I love it. Well
Nice.
done.
I'd like to share, I have these paints which are metallic.
Oh,
So
I don't know who's
when it came to doing gold, I could actually get a gold,
Oh,
gold paint.
let me spotlight you. I couldn't see you.
Oh, sure.
And so now I found you.
I'll be
Okay.
here in a
Oh,
minute.
You got, oh, fun. How fun is that?
These are, right, these are metallic paints.
Oh, how fun.
So they came in really handy today. It's by a Japanese company called Komarobi. And
Oh,
um, so the painting of the gold came out really
oh,
shiny.
nice
Yeah.
one. I like that. Well done.
Yes.
Anyone else want to share? Fun. Well, we are going to continue North America next time because there's so much cool stuff. It is so hard to like decide what to do. I get way down these rabbit holes. Thank you all for sharing and coming, and I will get the recording done, and so you can go back and work on finishing up things uh and get that out there. And if you want to send me your pages, I can either put it on the website, both, or share in the community area. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Roseann.
Thank you.
It's going to be so much fun. I'm loving this.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
Thank you, Roseann.
Thank you.
Bye.